Welcome to Progress in San Diego, Ordinary People Doing Extraordinary Things. I'm your host, Walter Davis. And with me this evening, I have the pleasure to have Ms. Marissa Ugarte.
Hello, how are you, Walter?
Thank you so much for coming back again, Marissa. You do fantastic work. I'm so proud and just so happy that you came on the show again. Marissa is with the Bilateral Safety Corridor Coalition, BSCC, and you're in the business of helping people and educating people about human trafficking and slave trade.
Correct. And a little bit, most of it on when we started the coalition, slavery and human trafficking was not the key words. It was commercial sexual exploitation of men, women, and children. And that is something that has been going on, as you understand, forever. So we were having a problem identifying it like the United States did as trafficking, which sometimes, Walter, presents a problem with the difference between smuggling and trafficking, and everybody thinking that this is just a border issue, and illegally, people coming illegally into the United States, and they're so totally wrong.
So what we have going on here is a very powerful dynamic here in San Diego County. We have individuals from East Africa, from West Africa, from Eastern Europe, from Canada. We have black women, white women, Asian women being sold by their parents to pay for their smuggling debt. And San Diego is a major crossroad for both trafficking going both ways. So we have people taken out of the country and being sold, and we have people being sold coming into the country.
Correct.
And so these clubs, some of the clubs that we see are actually incarcerating young women and boys. So as males are being affected by this as well, right?
Correct.
And so we have the border towns. So it's not just San Diego, of course, but we have places in Texas.
All across the border. So you have Juarez. One of the key points is Sonora's Nogales, Arizona, Nogales, Sonora, Sasabe, Altar, Bisbee. I mean, it is all over. But what we miss is that we also have the northern border with Canada. And people do not realize that a lot of people take the trip through Canada and come down to the United States, and it becomes a circuit. There is a circuit for labor, and there's a circuit for sex, and there's servitude, and there's begging. And I have a vivid example of that I've learned of two children. I can't say too much, but they were taken from Somalia to Kenya to a UN camp and then trafficked for 3 years throughout all of Latin America for begging until they finally got into Tijuana. And they were from Somalia. So trafficking, like you say, doesn't affect any color, race, creed, or anything else. The problem is it is organized crime too. And if we don't take it as organized crime and how they are convoluting each other with the gangs and the cartels and how lucrative we have become, we're missing the point. We now, as human beings, are worth a lot of money. We can be recycled, we can be sold for sex, for work, and for organs. The Palermo Protocol specifically tells you about the illicit sale of organs. There is no illicit. The sale of organs, which is the black market. And we have it in Mexico. We have it here. We had a program close in UCLA on body parts, and we had another one in New York, and we also have a congregation of rabbis that were taking the kidneys out of the Mexicans and taking them to Israel. So hello, we are completely recyclable. We worked very hard in letting the community know what dire need we have. We have now, instead of one shelter, 3, the nest, in El Cajon, run by a beautiful lady, and I'm going to mention his name, Sabel, who has helped us many, many times with printing and things like that. And now his wife runs a little shelter for us. Then we have in the southern area of San Diego, the Maris Missionaries Sisters, and now in Vista, the Salvadoran nuns. Now we don't run them as religious programs, but the love and dedication and kindness to our now 39 victims and going, plus the case management and all the community that comes and help us with these victims, we're really trying to make a difference, Walter.
So you need funding for this, obviously, and with the hard economic times, then it would seem that the growth of human trafficking and slave trade might be more proliferated. Is that not so?
What happens is, you know, the government has been wonderful and has really taken a stand on human trafficking. But what happens is that because of the economic times and the recession and everything, unemployment, everything, the individual funding and the foundations and us, including, to be able to advertise and let people out there know that, yes, here's a victim, but there's a circle of things: case management, transportation, medical care, and a lot of things that compose a victim. So when somebody says, I want my money to go to a victim, they miss out what it takes to save one victim of human trafficking. People in other areas of shelters probably run shelters from 30 to 90 days. Some of our victims have been with us 2 years. Now, the only resource of funding that we have right now is for international victims, nothing for domestic. So, because the United States had not contemplated that we really had domestic trafficking, commercial sexual exploitation of children. People do not want to believe that we have this in our backyard. Backyard meaning the United States, and backyard meaning San Diego. So when funding comes, they go, oh, I'll give to Africa, to India, to everywhere in the world, Thailand. And what about here? 350,000 children are being exploited in the United States sexually. 350 and growing. And now we have a bigger problem, Walter, which is one problem that BSCC is going to be very aggressive about. Internet crimes, webcams, sexting, bullying in the internet. Those are the horrors that have now incremented the exploitation and abuse of children through the internet. So I believe that from 350,000 children that were, studied on by Dr. Estes of the University of Pennsylvania, we now come to the conclusion that these numbers must be much larger. Now, great companies out there give money for lobbying, give money, I'm talking about webs and people who run internet businesses. But they're not giving money to the organizations that want to work on prevention in schools, that are not interested in lobbying, that are interested in helping out the community, that teaching the children how to prevent being exploited in the internet, how pedophiles lure them and groom them and then take them. Because whatever is virtual becomes a reality, and children are taken. We've been advocating in the community about children and little girls and predators being where they got to be, in prison forever. And then we in San Diego have to learn, like other parts of the country have learned, that children can be murdered to satisfy a predator. The predators also know that the laws in the United States are stiffer, so they also cross the border to exploit those children that are from Mexico and originally the country where I was born. And the saddest thing is that we are not recognizing that children are not our future. They are our present. And if we don't teach morality, if we don't teach them ethics, if we don't give them love now, they are going to grow in a different kind of world.
Now, to kind of go back and summarize what I'm hearing you say here, the United States is not investing money into this huge issue of human trafficking and slave trade. Our large companies like the insurance companies, Blue Cross, they're spending millions of dollars on lobbying, yet they're not addressing this issue where American citizens are being enslaved and taken overseas, where people from all over the world are being brought to this country. We have places, as I recall, where people are making fabrics and sewing clothes and being held in basements of homes for 15 years without being discovered. Women are being held in these clubs throughout San Diego County where they're forced to be prostitutes. We have had a period where police officers are arresting some of these young ladies thinking that they're just prostitutes, but in fact they were victims of slave trade and human trafficking. So there's education that must be done. There's prevention that must be done. We have to become active in the school system. We have to educate parents. We must get involved with preventing people from getting into this, but also educating the public in general. And yet, what I'm hearing you say is that our government, that our representatives are not focused on this issue in a way where funding is coming to organizations like yours in an adequate amount.
For domestic trafficking, to be honest with you, there's nothing. What has happened is what happens many times. We're quick to judge the outside without understanding what is happening inside. For example, I always put it in a level where people can really understand it. When somebody is unfaithful, who's the last one to find out?
The spouse.
Right, or the husband. Let's consider the United States, the wife or the spouse. You're looking out there and you're looking at something that is so horrific that is happening worldwide. And all of a sudden you fail first to understand that it was coming in. Then you do the laws in 2000 Protect Act, 2003, which clearly depicts that any U.S. citizen that attempts to have sex with a minor throughout the world would be tried with up to 30 years of prison in the United States. We have the law. Implementing the law is very difficult for many reasons. One, because the law, for example, in the United States is of intent. But the law, when you cross the border, is flagrancy, meaning they have to catch you in an act with a child. Those incongruencies and not homogenizing the actions that need to happen let a lot of the pedophiles be loose, a lot of the predators be loose. So
on a horrible level, we have children being enslaved, incarcerated, and sexually exploited, not to mention the other aspects of it in terms of the adult women and the men that are involved in this just as well, and little boys. So this is a simply horrific situation that is simply not gaining enough media attention. However, I have seen some things on CNN and I have seen some things on MSNBC, whatever. However, in general, I don't think that people are aware of the magnitude of what's really going on. I've been involved in the law enforcement part in terms of slave interdiction in Singapore and also in South America. And we've seen some things with the Somalis recently, Somali pirates, in the news recently. However, what I'm hearing you say is that the scope of this is hugely underestimated.
it is, and the biggest problem that we have is that we have to take care of our own too. We have the laws. We have to implement it. And the public needs to know that we need help too, because we're in a very vulnerable area, because we are a border town. And this makes us, one, a national security issue, organized crime. So we need to consider the scope of what we're talking about. The cartels are now selling the girls. The gangs are selling the girls in Mexico to take them away into other parts of the world.
They're
'Cause
taking
it's easier.
American citizens?
Yeah, it's called reverse trafficking. So we do have an array of things that we need to consider. There is many based organizations in the internet that have, I don't know if you're familiar with the avatars and Linden Dollars and the Second Life. There's a beautiful Second Life, you know, where you can buy houses and do business and kids play. Did you know that you also have the dark side of Linden life? Adopted child, prostituted child, defecating rooms, fuzzies, having sex with stuffed people in costumes. You have sadomasochism, trafficking, drug trafficking. So you can do all these illicit businesses online. And the owner of that website is here in California, in San Francisco. What do? We need to change that. We need to sanction those people who allow this kind of games and brainwashing going to our children. We need to educate parents how to monitor things that they may think are innocuous. We need to look in the streets in El Cajon Boulevard, not at night, but at 12 o'clock, and say, there goes a child that is being prostituted or pimped out. We need to look in the massage parlors, nail salons, restaurant businesses, and say, there's something not right here. We're not doing it. We have found out that as much effort as we made, Walter, we're still in diapers. What it means to make the community conscientious about what I'm talking about. Then you have another problem. You have the people that are really the experts, and you have the wannabes. So then everything gets confused. There's one message here, another message here, and organized crime works together. They're organized. And I feel that in the field of slavery, human trafficking, commercial sexual exploitation, we need to be organized. We need to have the correct funding. The accountability that goes with it, that's fine. But we need corporations, businesses that, you know, are bringing the slave trade and tapestries and textiles from Guatemala and sugar from the Dominican Republic. There is a movie that's going to come out called Sugar. Do you know how many Haitians are enslaved in the Dominican Republic? And what kind of sugar you are putting in your coffee every day? 200,000 Haiti people are enslaved in the sugarcane fields in the Dominican Republic. But we don't talk about that, do we? We're talking about cocoa over there somewhere in Africa. We need to look not at, you know, the business trade elsewhere. We need to look at NAFTA. Between Canada, Mexico, and the US, that's what we have here. But when people are not ready yet, and we need to make them ready to undertake this endeavor, we don't need people to send their money out. We really to protect our own. And I think the United States is now, and there's a lot of advocates out there, to bring certain bills in so Congress can allocate money to Health and Human Services, to the Office of Victims of Crime, to the State Department to be able to work this. But the trade agreements are not in Africa. The trade agreements that are close to us, Walter, are the ones here. There's many organizations that are working internationally. UNICEF, the UN, my goodness, Global Fund, many. Who do you know is working here? BSCC and a couple of others doing indistinct and disorganized things. So it's an advocacy. And I want everybody out there to know that we need help. Lots of help.
Well, this is certainly a very serious situation, and it's been serious for a number of years, the years that I've known you, and you've been very dedicated to this, and I really commend you for your work. I want the audience to know that we're going to be having some of the videos that Bilateral Safety Corridor Coalition has produced put up on our internet television broadcasts 24/7. You'll be able to watch those on our blog. And Marissa, we're coming down to our last 7 minutes or so here. I want to make sure that you get the most intrinsic part of your message conveyed right now. Can you give the audience some final thoughts? What are the things you need them to do to help you?
Okay. Those people who are dedicated there need to understand that we as an organization that is a coalition, we have just in San Diego, 40, in San Diego, not in North County, 40 core agencies that help us and we give funding to. Freedom from Exploitation, our survivor groups for the girls that have been in their life. We help Catholic Charities, do the legal service and the psychological services. La Maestra, who's been so kind to us and given us a lot of things free. We also need, but they run out. Bus passes, books, volunteering, dedication to the victims, clothing. We don't want used clothing. Sometimes when you had nothing and you come out of the street with nothing, you want to buy them new underwear, new bras, new dresses. You want them to feel empowered. We want to create a program of micro-enterprising. Some of them do not speak English, so English as a second language. We're getting some interpreters in Russian because we have a Russian victim right now and one from Thailand. Now, it was very difficult to find somebody that spoke Thai. And she was a servitude victim. We have victims from Somalia. So the idea is that there's a compendium of unrestricted funds and funders that we need where people can let us know where they want the money to go, whether prevention and education, street outreach. We do that too. We do the curfew sweeps with San Diego Police Department, the Operation Flush with the Vice Department where we take care of the Johns. We want to support mentoring programs for children. Excuse me, go to the schools. So yes, those are the things that are real. And I need funding for a case manager. Because who does the work? The victim or we do it? So people, when they say, I want to help the victims, what does it need to help a victim? A case manager who's going to transport them, make the appointments. Those are the types of things that we need. Volunteers can help, but a volunteer, when you run an agency like ours, could be liable. So we need somebody to back them up. We have a 24/7 emergency response service. Right now, I'm training people to, be able to respond.
We got to wrap up. We got like 2 minutes left.
Okay. So that's what we do. That's where the help goes to. We need somebody to help us with our website. I mean, there's somebody to upload. I'm not a technician of that, as you very well know. And so all those things are so important for us.
Well, Again, we've run out of time, and we're going to have you back again. We keep running out of time, Marissa. It's just time goes by so quick. If you want further information about the Bilateral Safety Corridor Coalition and how to get in touch with Marissa, please see the website that will appear at the end of this broadcast, the Community Coalition website, and my telephone number will also appear there. We'll be presenting videos and posting events on the Community Coalition website regarding the Bilateral Safety Corridor Coalition. And Marissa, I want to thank you so much for coming back again. We need you to get involved. We need you to become involved with the coalitions that we have here and helping to deal with human rights and equality. This is a very serious problem that affects us all in one way or another. So please get involved, and I want to thank the audience for watching the show here, and I want to thank my volunteer crew for coming out to help us and make this broadcast possible. And I want to encourage all of you to become involved with the coalition and to become involved either as part of the audience or a crew member of the Community Coalition shows and progress in San Diego. I want to thank you because we're focusing on people that are doing positive things in the community because we are the community and we're simply citizen journalists that are trying to tell our story. I really appreciate you all for tuning in, and I implore you to become more educated about this issue of human trafficking and slave trade, and to look at becoming a volunteer and helping out or donating money to assist Marissa in her efforts to make our community a better place to live. The slave trade issue is much wider than what you might expect, and we have American citizens that are being kidnapped. We have people from all over the world that are being enslaved and put into servitude. We have congressional people that are now involved and police officers that are being involved in this. And so the awareness level within our community has increased in a tremendous level. However, it's not where it should be right now. So we need your help, and thank you very much for watching.
Thank you.